FAO's Technical Cooperation Program E-Learning series presents the TCP Approval Process, where we will look at the key steps involved and some good practices to ensure a smooth and effective formulation process. Firstly, let us meet the key players responsible for the TCP approval process. The FAO representative is responsible for the field program in a country and coordinates the formulation of all national TCPs. In the case of multi-country TCPs, the formulation is coordinated by either the sub-regional coordinator, regional ADG, or, in case of inter-regional TCPs, by a HQ division. In all cases, FAORs retain responsibility for any activity implemented in their country, irrespective of who is responsible for formulation. The government leads priority setting for TCP funding. In consultation with the FAO representative, TCPs are only formulated in response to government requests and require government endorsement, be it a national or multi-country TCP, before implementation. Technical officers support the formulation of TCP-funded activities and ensure their technical quality and feasibility, including the consideration of any environmental and social risks. TCP officers based in regional offices support formulators with quality assurance and approval of funds. In the case of emergency and inter-regional interventions, the TCP officers are based in headquarters. Regional ADGs approve the allocation of TCP funds within their regions, while the Deputy Director General approves the allocation of funds for emergency and inter-regional TCPs. Let's now take a look at the key steps involved in the approval process of non-emergency TCPs. For emergency TCP, please consult with the TCP officer in OER or separate TCP clip. The government leads priority setting for TCP funding in consultation with the FAO representative. Government priorities for use of TCP are normally derived from FAO's Country Programming Framework, or UNSDCFs. Priorities are established through the FAOR, taking into account available resources and applicable TCP criteria and policies. In the case of multi-country projects, the reports of FAO regional conferences or requests from intergovernmental organizations can also be considered. For national TCPs, formulation is coordinated by the FAO representative, who are supported by members of their teams and a lead technical officer in the drafting of a proposal. For multi-country TCPs, the coordination role is assumed depending on the country coverage, as explained earlier, and supported by relevant team members from the responsible office. Throughout the formulation process, TCP officers support formulators with the alignment of proposals with applicable policies and procedures. The formulator is accountable for the final proposal, including the budget, and submits it to the relevant regional ADG or headquarters unit for allocation of funds. The concerned TCP officer then arranges for fund allocation and official designation of the budget holder through the concerned ADG or DDG. Implementation of the TCP can then begin with the official communication of approval to the government. Normally, the proposal does not require counter-signature. The TCP officer will advise on specific cases. So, what are some of the good practices one can recommend to make TCP formulation as smooth as possible? Firstly, it is strongly recommended to closely follow the guidance provided in the latest TCP standard format, available from the FAO handbook in the intranet. Avoid using old samples or cutting and pasting from related documents. Always follow the red-colored guidance text in the TCP standard format to the point and be as concise as possible. As the proposal is elaborated for informed FAO and government stakeholders, you can assume that the context and technical field the TCP is engaging with is already known. Focus instead on clearly explaining the problem or critical gap and how it will be addressed using the logical framework template and paying special attention to the guidance text provided therein. Focus then on elaborating how the interventions will catalyze change and sustainable outcomes, such as through donor or government follow-up funding. Make sure your proposal is in line with the policies on input composition. These are explained in detail in the TCP manual. Avoid being over-ambitious in the design of the proposed activities and closely consider feasibility and sustainability in the context the TCP is operating in. Allow for sufficient time and flexibility to accommodate for potential delays in implementation. Another aspect to consider is the timing of approvals. The earlier you approve a proposal in a biennium, the more time and flexibility there will be during implementation. You cannot extend a project beyond the end of the subsequent biennium of approval. For example, all TCPs approved in 2024 to 25 must be completed by the end of biennium 2026 to 27. Do not hesitate to contact the concerned TCP officer at any point for guidance and support. Let us conclude with some key takeaways on the process of TCP approvals. It is important to recall that it is the government who determines priorities for TCP assistance in consultation with the FAO representative, so they should be leading and, in case of multi-country TCPs, consulted during the formulation and approval process. It is important to identify and involve a lead technical officer from the very beginning of the formulation process to ensure technical soundness of what is being developed. The responsibility and accountability for the final proposal submitted for allocation of funds rest with the formulator, while the TCP officer supports the formulator and LTO with quality assurance. Make sure to follow the guidance provided in the TCP standard format and manual to ensure a smooth and effective formulation process. Please take note of this resources available from the FAO Handbook to access further information and guidance on the approval process of TCPs. We hope this clip provided you with the basic understanding on how to use TCP effectively and efficiently in responding to the needs of our members, and we look forward to your productive engagement.